Do I want to be a parent? There are many factors that contribute to becoming a parent. Decisions to parent are affected by economic circumstances, cultural beliefs, and societal norms. Most couples consider their financial stability and their economic circumstances before they determine to have a child because children are very expensive. Also, I know there are certain cultures that do not believe in birth control or contraceptive. So that may also play into a role of a couple's cultural beliefs and whether they're going to have multiple children or if they're going to try to avoid having any children at all. It's also important to note that many individuals and couples do consider societal norms. Is this something that's normal for their society? Would they want to have more than one child? What's something that's considered normal for their society? Before becoming a parent, it's also important to consider opportunity costs. These are the things that parents give up in order to have a child, which there are many things that a parent gives up in order to have a child, and it's very important to consider how expensive children really are and what choices you're going to make in regards to raising these children on a financial level. If you have friends that are parents and they're trying to convince you how amazing it is to be a parent and to have children, it's also worth considering that parents tend to psychologically exaggerate to themselves the joys of parenthood in order to emotionally counter the costs of what it really costs to be a parent. That's on a statistic level. So they may sound genuine and sound very joyful for being a parent. However, most of the time it's psychologically exaggerated, and in reality it's not that great. However, that's what helps them become a better parent, and that's what helps them get through parenting. Uh, Also, it's very important to discuss children with your partner. If both of you are not on board to have a child together, then you may experience a lower marital happiness. And this is irregardless. If both people do decide to have children, they are still more likely to experience a lower marital happiness with each kid they have. It's only going to get less happy the more kids that they have. Usually, if you're deciding to be an earlier parent or a later parent, usually with earlier parents, they have lower incomes and have to work harder and longer to meet their family needs. So that's something to consider when you're deciding on what age you want to become a parent. Although that sounds like a con, in later parenthood, the children are more likely to have a better life outcome. However, the possibility of miscarriage is at a higher rate and the fertility will decline. So you're less likely to be able to, or you're not as easily able to get pregnant. Um, you also need to consider that having children will upset your schedule. You can no longer take a certain job because of the hours that it provides, because you don't have childcare that will accommodate, and you'll lose sleep. Children get sick, they wake up, they need to use the restroom, their newborns cry, they need to be fed. You definitely will receive a lack of sleep. Not only that, if you are a minority, there are certain factors that affect specifically minority children. Minority children are more likely to come from a lower socioeconomic status. They're more likely to deal with prejudice and discrimination, and they also must deal with the complications of having to navigate two cultures. This is more in depth explained through Handbook on Positive Development of Minority Children and Youth by Cabrera and Leyendecker. Also, parental stress. Parental stress is a huge factor in becoming a parent. Source of parenting stress is usually how an individual or a couple of parents and their children's temperament are based on their emotions and the behaviors. A dyadic stress meter is when one or both parents experience chronic sleep problems. And having children, you are definitely going to lose sleep. And it is extremely, you become extremely grumpy, irritable when you lose your sleep. parenting stress exists even before the baby's here. You can find predictors that are shown in mothers if they experience depression and anxiety while pregnant. So that's something to consider as well as the symptoms during pregnancy. Parenting trends and how they change. There have been so many changes in parenting since history. I would say more important parenting changes are the fact that more people are having children later in life. Also, the fact that more women aren't having children at all. And that is something that's not now considered a societal norm. If society hears a woman state that they don't want kids or they're not going to have kids, it opens a lot of questions. Most women will hear, well, do you not have a man who wants to have children with you? Or are you having fertility issues? It's more uncomfortable and very personal questions. Also, a lot of families are choosing to only have one child families. That's something that's not considered a societal norm either, because there's such a negative stigma on one child families and the outcome of how a child from that's only the only child will come out. Families are also consisting of multi-partnered families, so it's children from the same mother with different dads. And I know my own family. My mom has 5 kids, and she has 4 different fathers for these kids. And me and my twin sister are the only one who have the same dad, and that is because we are twins. 21st century parenting. There are some advantages to parenting in the 21st century. Cell phones and social media allow parents and children to keep in virtually continuous contact, and they're also able to stay in touch with long-distance relatives. So that's something that would be considered an advantage to the 21st century parenting, because before, without the ability to use social media, internet, cell phones, many families would no longer be able to stay in contact, or it'd be a lot harder. The internet also offers knowledge regarding just about any situation. So if a new parent has questions about decongestion, or their child has a fever, when to go to the emergency room, there's virtually knowledge regarding any situation. The disadvantage of the 21st century parenting. I would say there's a lot more disadvantages. The parenting roles conflict with the working roles, so now families typically have 2 parents that are working, and it's not just the one parent that's working, and the work demands usually become a priority. Also, conflicting values and points of view. The children are not only learning from their parents now, but they're learning from school and peers, and most importantly, television, movies, social media. Parenting advice is useful, but it can be overwhelming and sometimes contradictory. So I don't know if anyone else is a parent in this class, but I do say for myself, if I post even a regular picture, and if someone sees something that they don't agree with, they suddenly become parenting experts, and they are constantly giving parenting advice, whether it's unsolicited or solicited. Parents today also must often simultaneously care for their children as well as their elderly parents. So my husband does go take care of his father in the morning, and then he does have to come home, go to work, and take care of his son as well. There's also less willingness to support publicly funded child care centered facilities and programs. So more people are seeing it as a stigma, and they are not choosing to donate, or they don't want to publicly fund it because it's getting a bad rap when really it's beneficial. Last but not least, parents are fully responsible for raising their children, but authority is often questioned. The state often intervenes in parental decisions about schooling and punishment. So that's something to consider as well.